You are 8 when they lift you from the courtyard of your father's house. The courtyard is the only place in your neighborhood that ever feels big. The pigeon coos. The old woman next door sweeps the same dust in slow circles. Your brother tries to catch a lizard and always loses. That morning your father's hands shake when he hands you over. He tells you, because men like him must tell things in the shape of duty, that Rome needs your purity to keep the city safe. He kisses your head like it will fix anything. It doesn't. You do not know the word for the metal badge the man at the forum slides into your palm. It is cold, heavy like the first lie of a grown-up. They cut your hair into a tidy bowl and braid a single thread of white into it. They lift you onto a litter with 3 other girls who do not look at one another. Their faces are pre-aged by the same fear that makes the crowd quiet. The temple looks like a promise when you first see it. Columns polished until they glow in the sun, the braziers piled high with wood, the statue of the Vestal taller than any father you remember. But promises are a kind of trick. Inside, the floors are colder than they look from outside. Every step echoes and sounds like someone walking away forever. The head priest's robes whisper like snakes. He speaks slowly, as if tasting syllables, and he calls you by the Latin name your father pretends to have chosen for you. You later learn they choose names for the city, not for you. They tell you you have taken a vow of sacred silence, of service to Vesta, guardian of the hearth. The words sound pretty and clean. Sacred, pure. They press palms to your youthful brow and speak of fire that must never go out. You think for a moment that you will get to carry that fire, to walk with something warm in your hands. Instead, they give you a tiny room with no curtain over the small high window, a straw mat, and a pot. They teach you how to tie your hair so it will not fall in a priest's meal. They show you the oil and tell you to wash until your skin blisters in order to be bright for the goddess. They teach you to stand motionless for hours while elders chant the history of Rome and the names of men who applauded her. At first, they call it protection. They wrap your childhood in ritual, bells at dawn, silence at dusk, lessons on the holy flame. The senior Vestals smile in the way older statues smile, sympathy with the mouth, nothing behind the eyes. You watch them move through the days as if they were marionettes who happened to learn how to walk on their own. Sometimes a senior takes your wrist and shows you a trick of the braid, the precise angle to hold a bowl so the wine looks like an offering. Their hands smell of incense and long sorrow. The matrons tell stories that make the outside world sound like a dangerous storm. They tell you are chosen and therefore safe. Your friends back home will be safe without you. The words loop and coil until your fear starts to accept them like a weather pattern. You learn the small rules quick. Never cross the threshold of the inner square without permission. Never touch the sacred flame. Never speak the name of a man who enters the fire room. When somebody asks why, the priest will say, "It is law." Law is a net that catches only those who cannot pay for a blade. Years fold into one another the way a folded cloak becomes thinner and hard. You begin to measure time by the rhythm of the fire and the seasons of the offerings. Girls arrive and leave bearing different fortunes. Some go away to marry dignitaries, some vanish into rumor. That rumor is a soft thing, practiced to never sound like a knuckle on a door. Rumors are how temples manage tragedy, turn it into poetry and hang it in the rafters. You learn that the fire protects Rome from storms. Yes, but you also learn what the priests protect. Contracts, reputations, the quiet sleep of men who prefer the world to be polished. There is a silence in the inner cell that is a kind of violence of its own. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of careful listening. You hear the coughs at midnight, the scrape of sandals that go nowhere. You hear a woman who once was fierce whispering the names of her children under her breath like a litany of bones. Sometimes at night you press your ear to the stone and try to catch the sound of the city, the laughter of men at taverns, the clack of dice, the holler of market vendors. It feels like a betrayal to miss it, and a luxury to yearn for it. When you are 15, they say the flame has been kept well. They say you have served with decorum. They say you are a model of devotion. A senator visits during a festival, and the matrons parade you like a banner they can hold up for visitors. He keeps his eyes on you in a way that makes the air in your chest thin and metallic. The senior Vestal smiles as if she is displaying a fine vase. A woman in full citizen's clothing crosses the temple causeway without looking at you at all. She has children, and her silence is another kind of survival. There is a law about Vestals. A Vestal who violates her vow brings disgrace upon the city. The punishment is as public as the crime. The condemned are buried in a small chamber beneath the earth, provisions given for a short time, bread, water, the assurance of a coffin, but no one helps them climb back to the light. It is a sentence said with a civic face, as if the city is performing necessary hygiene. The priest says it is mercy, the crowd says it is justice. One autumn a rumor begins to move like smoke. A Vestal is accused. Nobody knows, no one wants to say, how the accusation starts. Maybe it is jealousy, maybe a man's sudden remorse, maybe a contract gone sour. The accused is taken. The columns watch her leave as if they are there to record guilt. She is quiet on the way down, the way a sunspot is quiet before it vanishes. The priest reads aloud the words of law. The magistrate nods. The crowd murmurs and clutches at their cloaks, as if their hands could make the world safer by staying warm. You watch from your small window as they lower the sealed lid over the burial chamber. That sensation is like being held underwater. You have lungs but no air. In the nights that follow, you cannot sleep for the noise of your own pulse. You wonder what part of you is measured against the law and found wanting. You wonder which of your breaths could be considered a crime if someone very tired and very rich decides it will be. The years continue. You grow, less lithe, more leisured in the lines at the corners of your mouth. Men still come during festivals, still lay down coins on altars and call it piety. Sometimes a girl returns to the city wearing new brocades and a smile as brittle as washed porcelain. She was promised, bought, married, or whisked to property of some household. You learn to read the different kinds of exits: marriage, removal by patrons, death, disappearance. Each exit carries its own small rumor. Pride in the Temple is a manuscript folded inside other scripts. When you reach 30, which for many would feel like the center of their life, you realize you have been living on the edge of a ledge the entire time, and a fall is not only possible, but scheduled. The senior Vestals begin to watch your hands the way a mathematician watches prime numbers, calculated, with suspicion for deviation. Old age, they say to one another like a blessing and an accusation. You begin to understand that the city's idea of holiness and the women's idea of life have seldom met to share a cup of water. One winter, a child from the city dies in an alley. The matrons of the temple gather to feed the flame in a special ceremony. They scrape oil into the braziers and chant until the words lose their shape. You stand with the others, palms reddened from washing, eyes flinty with a patience you did not ask to learn. In the crowd that has come to see the ritual, you catch your father's shadow. He has aged so much the lines in his face look borrowed. He averts his gaze when he sees you, as if his sight could undo you. You will be released eventually, or married away, or buried if the law finds you unfit. You survive because you have kept the fire. You survive because small mercies, bread shared between sisters, a stolen moment in the garden to press your face to the rough trunk of an olive tree, have been more valuable than the official praises. You carry in your palm a heat that you were told belonged to the city, but in the small private places, in the cracked pottery where you hide a scrap of a tunic that still smells like home, you keep something else, the memory of a courtyard where a pigeon once landed on your shoulder and did not leave. When silence becomes your form of armor, you learn to wield it. You learn that endurance has a sly, private holiness, one that cannot be registered on a ledger. The city's hymn will keep calling the names of men who built it, but in the way the straw smells when the sun hits it, in the way a hand clasps another under the table, some part of you will remain uncounted, unowned, and quietly stubborn. The temple will remember the flame. You will remember the small, ordinary things that made you, once, a child.